again, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Meet the People. My name is David Feiner. I'm the Communication Technology Manager in the City of Pittsburgh's Department of Innovation and Performance. Today, my guest is one of the City of Pittsburgh's greatest employees, and he has the Employee of the Month award to prove it. Dana Robinson, also from the Department of Innovation and Performance. Dana, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Dave. Thank you for inviting me. I appreciate it.
Now, Dana, I can't imagine that there's someone who either works for the city or lives in the city that doesn't know you. I'm imagining that cannot be possible. But for those who may not know you, can you give us a little background where you're from and how you got to starting to work for the city?
Sure. So I was born and raised in the city of Pittsburgh, born and raised on the north side of Pittsburgh, what they call the North Shore now, Mexican Wall Streets. Grew up on Buena Vista Street. Mm-hmm. I went to school I only went to two schools from kindergarten to high school. I went to St. Matthew's Lutheran School, which is on North Avenue. Graduated from there. Then I went to Perry Traditional Academy. Graduated high school there. And after that, I stayed in the city and I started working for the city. So a little background about that. My whole family, my grandmother, my grandfather, my mother, my sister, I had a couple other relatives. They were all civil servants, all employees of the city of Pittsburgh. So I was kind of born into this. I really didn't have any other way or know any other way other than, civil servitude. I tried my hands at a couple other things, but this was a fit for me.
So you're a legacy.
Yeah, I guess that's a good way to put it.
So you know all the secrets.
Yeah, the ones that let me know. Some other ones I'm forced to silence. I can't speak on it, but yeah. I know a few things.
So you wouldn't even admit that you know the secrets because they're that good?
They're that good.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's fair. So how many jobs or how many different roles have you had with the city? And how long have you worked for the city?
Wow. In total, I worked for the city 17 years, going on 18 years this year.
Okay.
In my first stint, which was I started back in 1996.
Okay.
I started actually as a summer intern for environmental services. Public Works. That's when we were. They used to cut grass. We used to cut the grass in the empty lots and things of that nature, laying asphalt. So I did that for the summer. After that summer wrapped up, I started, which was City Information Systems at the time, which is currently IMP. Yep. I started working for a man by the name of Joe Hilgert. I was brought in, and all I did was I delivered reports that were ran on a dot matrix printer. For anybody that knows what that is, that was a printer that was sort of like a typewriter, made a whole lot of noise, and had perforated holes on each side, and it printed reports. So,
I can hear the noise of the printer going across
yes.
right now without even thinking about
it. Yeah, so I started there. I was given an opportunity. I was there for about 2 years, and I was given an opportunity to move up, to advance to a position called a network technician. Mm-hmm. At that time, we had a big rollout. They were changing from the old CRT monitors. Anybody remembers those? Those are like the black screen with the green letters or the green numbers on it with the 10-punch keyboard.
Yep.
Very cumbersome, very big,
Heavy.
Yes. So we switched to that, and we were switching from those over to the compact desktops, which is now Hewlett-Packard, HP. So we did a whole rollout of the entire city of Pittsburgh, and I helped with that project. There was only two other people at the time that were actually doing the rollouts. The entire city of Pittsburgh, ladies and gentlemen.
So 3,000 something employees, and only 3 of them were working on that.
Yes.
Awesome.
Yeah. And we did a good job. We did a successful job getting those machines in and getting them operating. And from there, I was given the position of network technician, and I stayed in that position 8 years, I believe, and then I left. I had an opportunity to, run my own business and start a business with some family and some friends I had up in New York City. So I was up there 4 years. Then I came back. I tried to get back with the city at first, but they weren't really hiring at the time. This was around 2010.
Okay.
So I started working for Verizon at that point. I was, doing Verizon. I was doing other odd jobs. I was a chauffeur at that time also. But I always had a thing for IT. My grandfather, he instilled that in me early. He used to take me to, computer camps. They used to have once a month a CCAC. I'm talking about from when I was 9 years old.
Yep.
And so I always had that part, even though I wasn't doing it probably for a space of 5 or 6 years. IT's always been my calling. And then 2013 came, and a position opened for a network technician. And I took it, and here I am. So yeah, let me see. So to make a long story short, I've been a mailroom clerk, intern first, mailroom clerk, network technician, came back, was a network technician again, then a network analyst 1, 2, 3, which is sysadmin. I was a manager of the service desk, and now I'm a senior manager of the service desk and devices team.
If I've done my counting correct, that's 9 jobs.
9 jobs, yeah.
So can you remember all the names of all the people you've ever worked with?
Probably not. But, there were a lot of standouts in my time here. Some people that I met that are still friends to this day. And, I say there's something about people that come into civil servitude, people that work for the city, people that work for government. It's not, you're not going to get rich, but, you're doing a service that's needed, a service that's required for the, the constituents of the people. Wherever it is that you do city government, hats off to you. It's not easy work.
So you probably do remember this. You and I started I didn't know it was your second stint, but you and I started around the same time.
Right.
And it took me a good 2 to 3 years to realize Ashley is your sister. That's more of a statement on me than it is the two of you. But I had never seen the two of you together. It never dawned on me until I was in her office once and she said something and I thought, wow, that sounds a lot like Dana. Wait, Robinson. Oh, yeah. I'm kind of the dummy there. But
not at all.
So your grandparents were employees. Your mother was an employee. You said other family members were employees, and now you and your sister. So is there a Robinson wing of the city county building that I don't know about?
There should be. But no, not yet. Me and my sister are working on that, though.
Okay. It's good to know. Good. So let's talk a little bit about your current role.
Yes.
So what is your official title these days?
Official title is Senior Manager of Service Desk and Devices.
Okay, so let's split this up one
Yes.
at a time. So for those that may not know, who are looking at the city from the outside, what is the service desk?
It's a good question. So the service desk is more of, a front line. That's your customer service. So let's say if you're at home and, maybe your power goes out or, your cable goes out, you call Duquesne Light, you call Comcast, whoever you have, right? The people that you talk to first, how may I help you? How may I be of assistance? Mm-hmm. The people that are going to help you to troubleshoot and get through the problem, that's what the service desk is for the city of Pittsburgh employees.
So if my laptop loses power, my cell phone doesn't work, my desktop computer, something's wrong with it, I pick up the phone and I call the service desk.
Correct.
Okay. And are they the same people that would come out and help me with my problem?
They are now.
Okay.
Previous to me taking that job position, they were 3 separate teams. So you had the help desk, which they took the calls pretty much. That was their job. Then you had tier one. Those were, I don't want to say grunts. I don't really like that word, but they were our frontline people. They went out in the field and they dealt with the actual triage and the troubleshooting of the computers or the devices.
Yep.
And then you had tier two, which was kind of a blend between our higher team, which is our sysadmins, and the tier one. So they did work on the back end to make sure systems were up and running and functional, make sure software was where it was supposed to be, but they also went into the field also. So what we did is we merged all those teams, help desk, tier one, tier two, into the service desk.
Okay.
So now they all have the ability to not only answer the phones and take calls, but to also go in the field and troubleshoot.
So that was a decision you made?
No, that was a decision that the executive team made.
Okay. And for efficiency's sake, to make it more streamlined?
Yeah, I think it was that part, and it was also, to have redundancy, on the team, to have a unit that can handle whatever comes their way. They can take care of all phases.
So the person who answers the phone can then see the issue all the way through.
Correct.
That makes perfect sense. So what about the devices team? So that was the service desk. What about the devices team? What does the devices team do?
So the devices team prior to 2019, I believe, they didn't exist.
Okay.
That's a team that was made up based on a report that from a company that we had hired to look at some of the holes or the gaps that we might have been missing in IT. So because of that, we came up with the devices team. Well, I should say Innovation and Performance came up with the devices team. So devices team, they do all the purchasing, all the provisioning, all of the and some of the deployment of any devices that we have here in the city of Pittsburgh. They also do detailed analysis. They go and they figure out what the needs and the wants of the customer is, and make sure that based on what they say, they get the right device in front of them.
So for that particular team, there needs to be a wide range of knowledge, whether it's cell phone, tablet, laptop, desktop, and I'm sure I'm not even thinking of other devices, but they need to know manufacturers, how they work, what's best for a person when they make their request, all those things.
Correct. Yeah, those guys are more my subject matter expert employees. Not that my service desk employees aren't, but they do a deep dive on the critical needs and wants. So they have institutional knowledge, and some of the matter of fact, both of them, the guys that I have on my team, they were at once either tier one or tier two.
Okay. So now that you're talking about the teams and you're explaining what they do, I'm imagining between the two teams, you must have about 150, 200 employees under you.
I wish, because we probably need that. Let me see. I got 8.
So plus you, that's 9 people that are troubleshooting issues and problems that employees might have, as well as purchasing and implementing new devices.
Correct.
9 people.
9 people.
That's amazing.
It's a heavy lift.
What happens when one person is on a call or researching an issue that takes a little longer? Does that affect the team?
To be honest with you, David, it doesn't really.
Okay.
Now, if I have 2, 3, or 4 people in that situation, then yeah, it can put a strain on us. But having a person that's takes time or has to see to the critical care, or they might be waiting for a vendor to get back to them, it doesn't really affect the team too much. Which is I have nothing but great things to say about my employees and just the work ethic that they have and They always put their best foot forward.
So that's a testament to you as well as their leader. I'm sure you and I have known each other for quite a while at this point, but I'm sure that you are not just giving orders from on high. You are also doing the work as well.
Absolutely.
Same here. We just don't have enough. And I'm sure this is something that can be said not only for your two teams and my team, but we just don't have enough sets of hands.
No, we don't.
And we go where the sets of hands are needed.
That's right. You know.
So prior to COVID, so I want you to I know it was a long time ago.
Feels like a lifetime ago.
A couple of lifetimes ago. How was the job different prior to COVID? I want to save what's happened since COVID for the next question, but I guess what I'm getting at is your customers, for the most part, were all in one big building.
Yes.
And so it made a lot easier to get around and do things. What was the workflow like then?
It was a lot easier. I'll say that much. We were able to. So prior to COVID, we were working on a lot of our KPIs and metrics and things of that nature to make sure that the job that we're doing is efficient, is thorough, is fast. Also, prior to COVID, the devices team wasn't there yet, so I was just in charge of the service desk.
Okay.
No, I'm sorry, I stand corrected. There was another person that was in charge of the devices team, but they were a brand new team, just like the service desk was a brand new team. Like we say, 2019, around that time.
Yep.
So the workflow was not as heavy,
Yep.
and we knew what we were dealing with. We knew what was in the field. If a call came in, we were able to deal with it in a timely manner, in a timely fashion. So it was pretty. I don't want to say easy, but it was a lot less strenuous, a lot less strainful than COVID. Once COVID hit.
So I remember, and I'm sure you remember, getting the phone call and the email on a Friday. Go home. Don't come to work on Monday.
Yeah.
And I can imagine, like, for my team, we went home and we all had personal devices that we were able to use, and it wasn't really a big strain on us to log onto a computer Monday morning and still be in touch with each other.
Right.
I am imagining that is not the same for you.
No.
So talk about not only the weekly, I mean, it wasn't a decision made hastily to send everybody home, but talk about the leading up to that Friday and what it was like for you and your team that weekend, that Monday, and going forward.
Good question. So we got that email. Well, I got the email, but we were the team that email really didn't apply to.
Okay.
So our biggest thing was, what are we going to do Monday? Because we know if, in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, if they're sending people home, then we're going to have to make sure they work from home. That was critical. So I told my team, I said, that weekend or that Friday, go home, relax, do whatever you need to do, clear your head. Monday morning, back to work, back to business.
Yep. Be ready for everything.
Yes. So we came in Monday, and I will say that we had a lot of calls coming in, a lot of people asking how they can work from home. So we had to kind of put a plan together to make sure that the city of Pittsburgh employees could work from home, because we did it in a rollout phase initially, but as far as devices, what they were going to use to work from home, because when you're here on the job in the different locations, you're connected to a city environment, with firewalls and login processes and domain, connections, which is very hard to get when you're at home.
Right.
If you don't have the right equipment, you can't get it. So we had to, initially we rolled out the RSA tokens, which is a two-factor authentication. So what we had to do is we had to scramble and take every piece of equipment that we had RSA token for users to be able to log into their home computers to download a client. So what we did, we had a rollout phase. So we went by department with the help of our BRMs, which are our business relation managers. With the help of them and the liaisons of each department, we had customers from every department that would come in and come to City Integration Systems that would come to IMP, and we had a schedule, and we called it was a mobile cafe. Okay. But basically, what we did was we had people come in if they were comfortable using their home computers or their laptops. They would come in. We would do the screening. We'd have a thorough cleaning of each station, each workstation, each computer. All my staff was masked up, gloves, the whole nine. And we would get the installation of the RSA token program and what they needed to log in. And I think we got about 300 people all set up to work from home.
And we're not talking about you did that in 10 minutes.
No.
That was over a period of, what was that, 300 people over a week?
No, I think, 2 weeks?
Okay.
2.5 weeks.
So almost like I don't want to minimize your work, but almost like a showroom where you're trying to answer all the questions, give the people the information they need, but also realize there's 299 other people in line.
Correct.
Yeah.
No, I wouldn't. That's not a minimization of the work at all. I don't think it is. But what you're saying is true. It was like a showroom, and we had a schedule. Yep. And I want to thank Frederica Greenwood, who was my assistant manager for the service desk. She stepped up with me big time and helped me to get these devices rolled out, as soon as possible. We burned a candle at both ends. Probably, I would say from the end of March up until June.
I believe it.
Yeah. It was a good time. We had fun. We actually had fun doing it, believe it or not. As stressful as it was, we had a good time doing it. And, it built a camaraderie with the team that wasn't there before. So, yeah, it was a good time.
I think that's an interesting point. Good time in the face of national uncertainty.
Yes.
And I think that a lot of the teams in IMP felt the same pressure, but enjoyed it. And I think enjoyed is the wrong word to say publicly, but let me see if I can explain it. Where you and I are at heart technicians. Right. And when something breaks or something doesn't go exactly the way we want it to, we're able to think of it diagnostically and try to figure out a solution to every problem, no matter how small or big it is.
Absolutely.
And so each of us, not just the City Channel team, but the devices team, the service desk team, every team in IMP had to figure out how to work in this new format, in this new way.
Right.
And I know that there are people on my team that get excited when there's problems because it's something to fix and, ooh, look, shiny new toy. And I think I agree with what you were saying about the camaraderie and the team coming closer together. When we were sent home and we were told you can't use your cameras, you have to figure out how to do this from home. We played around with 6 or 7 different pieces of software before we decided on Zoom. I just think that I keep coming back to exciting, and it wasn't exciting. It was stressful. It was hard. I don't want to go through it again. but look at all these different interesting things that came out of it. Is that a good way to describe that?
Yeah, that's a great way to describe it, actually. Yeah, because it was a stressful time. It was stressful, it was strenuous. And I think if it wasn't for the camaraderie and if it wasn't for the galvanizing of the teams coming together and saying, look, we got to get this done. We got to make sure people can work. We got to make sure people can function. I think having that common ground, as well as with you guys and, other teams in the department, I think that's the part that, like you said, I guess enjoyable is not a good word to use, but it took some of the pressure, I guess, or some of the anxiety that we were feeling, deep down. It kind of took that edge off.
Yeah.
And it made it easier. And we just, everybody focused and we dug in and got to work. So, yeah.
What's interesting is January 2020, so 2 months before we were all sent home, I called one of your favorite employees, Brian Lee, and I said, Brian, listen, my portable device is an iPad, and I've had the iPad for 5 or 6 years at this point.
Right.
And it's not holding its power anymore. It has to be plugged in all the time. And Brian Lee said to me, why do you still have an iPad? And he was able, in a fairly short period of time, he was able to set me up with a Surface laptop. And what I enjoyed about that experience was how thorough he was. And I mean, I've known Brian as long as I've known you, and I've worked with Brian as long as I've worked with you. But I really enjoyed how thorough he was, and how, even though he and I have known each other for a while now, he asked all the same questions, went through the process, and made sure that I, the customer, was extremely happy with that. Again, I'm not trying to sit here and compliment you all day long and make you blush, but it's a testament to you as the
you don't
manager.
know you can. It's fine.
That he made sure he did not want to leave my office until I was completely happy.
Right.
I thought that was not my experience with the service desk or tier 1 or tier 2 in the past. Not to say that it was awful, it wasn't, but there wasn't a process, and I think that's great that he stayed with me until, I mean, and we both know Brian, but he was like, "This is a power cord, okay, Brian." Yeah.
He's very thorough.
Yes, he is.
He's very thorough.
So we're in this, I really, really, really hate the phrase new normal, because it's not new and it's not normal.
No.
But so we're in this workflow, and people are working from home, and there are still some people who come to the building. I mean, I come to the building every day.
Right.
But what are some challenges that you have faced in the last 15 months that you had not ever faced before?
It's a great question, David. From the top, I'll say resources.
Yeah.
Running out of resources. There was a point where we were getting low on, critical resources that we need to get to our customers, which are our city and Pittsburgh employees. That's been a little frustrating. During the time, I also had one of my employees actually retired, and losing him, losing a person during the pandemic,
Yep.
given the monumental task that we were faced with, that hurt. That hurt. That set us back a bit.
Not only losing his knowledge, but then having to train a new person under these new work flows.
Yes. Yeah. That's definitely been the rough part. And even, something as small as, finding parking for my team, I know that might not be, on the top list of anybody else, but, when I need my people to be here, when I need them to be in a certain place,
Yep.
and it's hard to find parking, that hurt us also.
It's interesting you mentioned that, because so I've been coming I stayed home for about 6 weeks, and then I started coming into the building every day. And there were times where my staff had to come in, and they would say to me, "I'm not taking a bus. I'm not taking the train. I'm not taking a bus. I'm not taking public transportation. I don't feel safe."
Right.
And I think you and I park in the same lot by the DPW building.
Yep.
And I called the woman who's in charge of the parking lots, and I said, "There's about 10 cars in the lot every day. Can my staff park in the lot?" And she said, "Yeah, no problem." And I think that's an important point, something, like you said, people don't think about. So that when my staff does come in the building, they're actually parking in my spot, and I take another spot. That's an interesting point. So that's all I want to say. I just interrupted you to say that.
Oh, no, that's fine. Because I've had to do the same thing. I have employees that, park in my spot when I'm not here. And,
Yep.
But, the good thing for me, sometimes I can walk in, or I'll catch a trolley.
Yep.
And then I'll walk. So, I've lost some weight behind it. So,
Hey, you look great.
no complaints. Thank you, sir. I appreciate
Stop
it.
begging for compliments.
Not at all.
So we're recording this towards the end of May. It'll probably be on TV early June. You and I have both heard the discussions of how to come back. How does the workforce now, 15 months, 16 months later, come back to the building? And I can imagine it's pretty easy for most people because it's just coming back to work, putting pants on.
Right.
I'm guessing it's not going to be as easy for you.
No.
And why not?
We're looking at it, it'll probably be more strenuous than when people went home to work. Because now you have people that have been at home, 15 months, right? 15 some odd months.
Yep.
They've forgotten their passwords. It's possible.
Yeah.
They forgot how to check voicemails on their phones.
Yep.
They're not comfortable with the computers. They've been maybe using their home computer or using the loaner that we gave them, which is much more robust and newer than what they left behind at their desk. You're talking about running updates on these computers, which sometimes can take an hour for each computer, maybe more.
So in that, the updates, it's not like they only missed one. I mean, over 15 months, I'm assuming computers want to update more than once.
Oh, yeah, updates usually come out every week.
And
Most
not
of the
only
time
that,
you don't see it.
and not only that, but the computers haven't been turned on in over a year.
Yes. So let's hope they turn back on,
Yeah.
So there's a lot of moving parts.
Yep.
To people returning back to work. But my team, we're gonna sit down, we're gonna hash it out. We're gonna have a plan on how to do this and how to attack it. We're doing it now. We're gonna start it, actually this week. Because we don't want to leave anything to chance.
Right.
So we want to hash out everything, make sure we hit all the points. Because even when you do that, you might have one or two things that you still miss.
Yep.
But if you do a deep dive and you keep the number one thing in this whole business and what we do is that the customer always finds value.
Yep.
That's critical. That's number one. And as long as we go in and we continue to have that as the mindset, that is the top priority, that the customer sees value in what's being offered to them, I think we'll have a successful retransition, I guess you could call it. But like you said, the new normal, I don't like saying that either, because like you said, it's not new and it's not normal. It's, it's just life. Sometimes what they say, life throws you lemons, you can make lemonade, So I think that's where we've been probably for the past 2 years, is just doing that part. So,
If there were a perfect world, a service desk, devices team utopia, budget wasn't a constraint, people weren't a constraint, what would your perfect team and equipment look like?
Wow, that's a great question. Well, my team would have every single piece or resource of equipment manual software that they could think of. They would be able to do their job seamlessly, whether they were at their desk or they were on the fly, they were in the field. They would be able to provide value and solve the problem of every single customer that calls in, that has a problem, that has a request. They would be able to take care of that as soon as possible. There wouldn't be a ticket queue, quite honestly, if it was a perfect world. Like the same day the person calls is the same day the person gets the, what's the word I'm looking for?
Solution.
There you go.
Yeah.
Same day. Everybody being on the same page, on one accord. That would be my perfect, situation. That would be my perfect utopia. And also, I'd be remiss if I didn't say this. Every other team that works in IP, we all had a complete synergy and, just a great work environment where we all got along, we all were on the same page, and we all had the same end result in mind. Not that we don't, but to be able to come together as one and continue to do the process, and everybody's flourishing.
I think that's a great point. One thing I wanted to go back to is when I started with the city, I say this in the nicest way possible, but the city was not the most up-to-date technologically. Is that a fair statement?
That's very fair.
So how was it for, I know how it was for my team, but how was it for your team to take, you were talking about dot matrix printers when you first started with the city. How was it for you and your experience to upgrade the city from what was essentially an analog system to a digital system? And I'm sorry I forgot to ask that in sequential order, but it's something I'm really interested, because I know what it was like for us, but not necessarily what it was like for other departments or other parts of this department.
That's a great question. It's been rough at times. It was kind of rough. It was fairly rough. And I'll tell you what, David, the hardest part is convincing the customer that this is the way to go. And not all of them, but you have some customers that they like the dot matrix printers. Mm-hmm. You have some customers that, they like Windows 7. That's just, and...
Windows 95.
Oh, yeah.
Ask me sometime about Windows 95.
I'm going to do that.
Channel. Actually, you were up here. You remember it.
Oh, yeah, I remember it. And this wasn't too long ago. You're talking about less than a decade ago.
That was
I'll leave it at that.
2013 and 2014. We did Windows 95 computer.
Yeah. Oof.
So I think when I did the digital upgrade for the City Channel, or when I started it, I work, as you know, I work pretty closely with City Council in the mayor's office.
Right.
And saying to them, these are necessary changes. They were necessary changes 10 years ago. They were necessary changes 20 years ago. And one of the first questions they'd always ask me is, well, is anything broken? And the answer was, not at this moment, but it's already outlived its usefulness.
Yes.
And we're basically being held together with duct tape and bubble gum. And I'm sure you've had a lot of the same conversations. My printer isn't broken. Why should I give it up?
Right.
I know you're laughing on the inside as well. So I can imagine the painful memories, but important. One of the things I interviewed in a recent episode of the show, I interviewed Sylvia Harris, our deputy director. And she said, if you don't tell your story, somebody else will, and they'll probably get it wrong. So that's why I like to keep repeating. People are probably sick of me talking about this stuff, but I like to make sure people know how difficult it was to work in those types of environments.
No, but it's good. It's good to let people know,
Yeah.
especially when you get it to a point like you guys have to make it look easy.
Yeah.
Nobody knows, the work and the effort that you guys put in. So kudos to you, because I was here, I saw it.
Thank you.
Even where we're sitting at right now is that's a testament to hard work.
I think that it's when it comes to television, people don't know we have made a mistake unless we tell them. Like when you're watching the news and they say, "Oh, sorry, we're having technical difficulties." I always cringe at that, because why would you tell the audience something has gone wrong when 95% of them don't even realize it. But yeah, you're right. When we did our upgrade, there was a piece of the budget of that project that went to making sure that the old was able to talk to the new, because we had to stay on the air.
Right.
We spent, I don't remember the amount, but it was for throwaway items that we wouldn't need once the work was done. And I'm sure you've run into things like that when you have to make sure 1978 can talk to 2003, who can talk to 2019. I mean, it's...
Absolutely. If you don't have a time machine, you're in trouble.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so at this point of the interview, I want to ask you 4 completely random questions that you were not prepared for, have nothing to do with your job, okay?
Uh-oh. Okay.
I've been wanting to ask you this for a long time. You are, remind me, or correct me if I'm wrong, you are born and raised Pittsburgh, correct?
Right.
Okay. Why do you wear a Yankees hat?
I don't know, because they're the greatest baseball organization of all time.
All right.
I've always liked to get. I thought you were gonna come at me on that one.
No.
But nah.
It's the way I look at it, Dana, is it's okay for you to be wrong. And
yeah, we all get it wrong sometimes.
I'm glad you're able to admit it when you are wrong. Do you have any hidden talents? Do you have anything about yourself that most people don't know? Like, can you hit a half-court shot blindfolded?
So I have some untalents that people might think that I don't have or do have, or I am not good at sports.
And that's ultimately why we get along.
In any way, shape, or form. Now, fortunately, that's my children. They have it, but me, nah.
I guess that's it's been said that it skips a generation.
Yeah, it would definitely skip a generation with me. Yeah, my father, a little known secret, he was, I think, in football and baseball. He made Fab 22.
Oh wow.
Yeah, in Pittsburgh. I think Post-Gazette.
So it skipped you.
Oh, definitely. I never made the paper.
Okay.
At least not about that. A talent though. I think I'm a fairly decent cook.
Okay.
I'm not afraid in the kitchen. I know what I'm doing. I know my way around pots and pans and all that good stuff, and how to put seasoning together and things of that nature. So I think in the kitchen I can hold my own.
I haven't seen you in almost a year, and you don't bring anything?
No, I don't. But since you called me out on TV, I will. And maybe you can have it, with your next guest on Meet the People.
Good.
I'll see what I can do about that.
My hidden talent or my superhero power is I can forget my kids' friends' names pretty easily. When my wife says he's hanging out with a name, I forget that pretty quickly.
That's good.
And you got more kids than me, so you probably got more kids' friends' names to deal with, which is...
Yeah, as long as I get their names right, because sometimes I'll call them my sister or another relative that I'm close to. Like, Dad, that's not who I am. I said, I know.
My parents, until I was in my teens, would call me all the dead dogs' names before they got to mine.
Oh.
That was awful.
That's hard. That's rough.
I realized where I was on in the pecking order. Have you had, on the other side of hidden talent, Have you found any new passions since you've been home more? Like, have you taken up a new hobby, or what is it?
That's a great question. A couple. I think one of the biggest right now is just staying healthy.
Yeah.
Trying to get my life back in that regard. I had put on a considerable amount of pounds, and I just wasn't feeling good. I have asthma to boot. I have sleep apnea. So those things affected me a great deal. The more weight you put on, the harder it is to breathe, the harder it is to sleep.
Mm-hmm.
So I was determined in myself to get better. So I started watching what I eat. I started exercising, started walking a lot more.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's helped me tremendously, to stay on top and stay focused and stay sharp. If that's a hobby, I guess, because it's definitely a lifestyle.
Yeah.
It's not, I don't believe in dieting or that type, but I think that's all fad stuff. I think dieting is just something to make you feel good for the time being.
Yeah.
I think it has to be a lifestyle. I think so, changing my mindset and being more positive helped with that also. Another thing that I got into, that's a great question. So I started doing videos, sort of like Facebook Lives, just to talk about, my beliefs, my beliefs in God, helping other people to cope with what they're going through, what they're dealing with on a day-to-day basis. That's something that I've started also. I do 2 a week from back, I think I started last September.
Okay.
And it's been very therapeutic. So those are two things that I picked up during this pandemic, and it's and I've seen it trickle down and affect my family, my children positively. So yeah, those are two things I would say that I picked up during this pandemic.
Well, the weight that you have lost, I have gained. So you're welcome.
You look good though, man. What are you talking about?
I look something.
Ah,
What's your last binge watch?
good question.
Do you binge watch?
Do I binge watch? You gotta be kidding me. I'm probably the number one binge watcher in Pittsburgh.
Okay, so what was the last one?
Are we going new or old? Does it matter?
Doesn't matter. What was the last thing you binge watched?
The Office.
Yeah, nice. Awesome.
I know you don't like that show.
Oh, no, I love it. It was the first.
Oh, you do love it?
Oh, I do.
Oh.
No, it was the first show that my now wife and I watched together because we had met, what was that, 2007? She said, do you watch The Office? I said, I didn't know what that was.
Right.
And she bought the previous seasons on iTunes and caught me up. That's what we watched together.
That's awesome. Fantastic show.
Now, I don't know if you know this, but The Office was on Netflix forever.
Yeah.
And then NBC started its own streaming service and took The Office off Netflix. I went out and bought all 9 seasons on Blu-ray.
Yes.
Because I didn't want to buy the streaming service, another streaming service. So we have all 9 seasons on Blu-ray.
Well, that's beautiful.
It doesn't happen often, but I might pull out a random disc and just turn it on. And I know I'm going to laugh the entire time.
Let me ask you, do you have a favorite episode?
Having a favorite episode of The Office is like having a favorite breath of air. It's really difficult. I would say the house party where Michael and Jan host the dinner party with Jim and Pam and Andy and Angela.
Yes.
And he says something like, ooh, and here's my plasma TV. It's 18 inches. And he pulls it out from the wall like 6 inches.
Yes.
And then later in the episode, she throws the Dundie Award at it and it cracks the screen.
Yeah, that's a great episode.
Yours? Yeah. What's your favorite episode?
Season 3, episode 10.
Which was?
Benihana Christmas.
Oh, yeah.
That was my favorite episode of all time.
Yeah.
I mean, every episode is my favorite, but
Yeah.
I don't know. That one sticks out. I don't know if it was when he was heartbroken and he didn't want to buy the song, so he kept playing the 10-second sample. That was The Office. That's my guilty pleasure. I watch that almost every day.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
There's on YouTube, The Office has a YouTube channel, and every day they put out a 2 or 3 minute scene, and they've done really well keeping their name in the social media conversation.
Right.
And yeah, so every day they put out a 2 or 3 minute scene out of context, like it's not part of they don't put out the whole episode. But if I'm shoving food in my face at lunchtime, I'll click on that and just watch 2 or 3 minutes and laugh, and it's hysterical still. And it's topical, and it's relevant, and it great show.
Awesome.
Well, that's all the questions I have. Do you have anything else you want to add before we wrap this up?
I just like to say, everybody at IMP, thank you guys for just, digging in and doing the best that you could do, given the circumstances with COVID and the pandemic, you know what I'm saying, and just everything that's been going on. Anybody out there that is not feeling well or is down or whatever, however you feel, always know that there's somebody out there in your shoes, somebody out there that's going through what you're going through. Mm-hmm. I think that's very important. I'm starting to see a lot of people breaking down in society, society in itself, just having a rough time right now.
Yeah.
But I would say do yourself a due diligence. We're going to bounce back. This is going to get better. Just, hang in there and stay the course.
My late father used to say all the time, "This too shall pass." And that,
absolutely,
as you were saying that, that's what popped into my head. All right. Well, Dana, thank you very much. I really appreciate you taking the time to do this. I've really enjoyed working with you these 8 years, I think. 8.
Yeah.
It's been 8 years. I've really enjoyed working with you. You're a friend. I really respect your opinion. You've helped me out of a lot of jams. I hope to be able to help you out of one jam of ever. So,
no, you have, trust me.
All right. So thank you to you, the viewer at home. Thank you for watching Meet the People,
Yes.
and we will see you next time on the next episode. Thank you for joining us.